Okay, in this problem we're looking at an object that's been thrown up from the top of a 112-foot building with an initial speed of 96 feet per second. And we're given a formula here for the height. But here's the visual picture. Here we have a building that's 112 feet. And the object's being thrown upward from that building. And as most people realize, the object's going to go up for a while, but eventually it's going to start falling down. And what we're looking for is, when is it going to hit the ground down there below the building? And of course the height, when it does hit the ground there, will be 0. So we're given this formula, h equals a negative 16t squared. H equals a negative 16t squared plus 96t plus 112. And we want to figure out when will the height be 0. In other words, when does it hit the ground over here? Right, when does it hit the ground there? So when is the height 0? So we would plug 0 in for the height, giving us the equation 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 96t plus 112. So we have a polynomial equation that we want to solve. So to solve this equation, we need to factor. The first thing I would do here is notice that I have a common factor. Turns out 16 goes into all of those numbers. Okay, turns out 16 goes into all of those. So, and I also have this issue of the negative 16. I don't like my squared term being negative. So what I would do now is go through and divide both sides. So we don't actually have to factor out that common factor because we have an equation now. And that is divide both sides by negative 16. So that gives us the equation 0 equals t squared plus, or actually it's now going to be minus because we divided by negative, minus 6t minus 7. Okay. Take a moment, pause the video, and go ahead and solve this equation. And when you do, you should get two answers, t equals 7 and t equals negative 1. Now, if we're just solving an equation, everything's great, no problem. But because we're dealing with a word problem, we have to check those answers in terms of the context to see if they actually make sense. Well, we want to know, when is it going to hit the ground? Well, t is the time after it's been dropped. After it's been dropped. So t equals 7, hey, no problem. T equals negative 1, that would mean it hit the ground before we even threw it. And that's just absurd. So that answer we would throw out. Okay, hopefully get the handle on this problem. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me.